one with all of creation and with the Creator. It was a remarkable experience, and after flatlining and going into cardiac arrest, I believe I told you that the hospital kept me in there and they did a barrage of tests. I'm one of those people who hadn't been to the doctor in 20-some years and had been being my own medicine man and being my own doctor. And finally I got hit with something that I had to go to the doctor, so I had to initiate my mass health plan and get into the doctor and have him handle something that was beyond what I could do as a self-medicine man kind of a guy. But the good thing about the whole experience, one of the good things about it was that they kept me in and they did a whole barrage of tests on me. Not having been to the doctor in 20-some years, I had no clue how I really was. I would tell everybody, I believe I'm in good health. I believe my heart's okay. I believe my lungs are okay. I believe that there's no dis-ease being created in my body, but I really don't know. And so they did a whole bunch of tests, and all of the tests that they did in the hospital on me after the episode showed that all of my organs and blood and my heart and my lungs were all in good condition. I had 4 more tests that they needed to do, and Timothy is my health proxy, so he goes with me to the specialists and the doctors and the surgeons and whoever it is that calls me in to give me feedback. And I must tell you that a couple of times when I've gotten a spontaneous call from a specialist, a heart specialist or a blood specialist saying, I want you to come in tomorrow. My thought about doctors is they don't tell you to come in tomorrow unless they have some kind of news that you're not really wanting to hear. However, they kept surprising me. Each time they said, we want you to come in tomorrow, it was to give you some good news. We didn't want you to go another day thinking that perhaps this episode had done permanent damage to your heart. We want you to know. We've done every test. There is no permanent damage to your heart. We want you to know that your lungs are clear. We want you to know that your kidneys are good. We want you to know that you're good. So Timothy took me in on Wednesday, I believe, of this week for the final 4 tests, and I was told that they would call me back when they processed the test to see if these final things that could be going on because of the episode, because of the going into cardiac arrest, if these final things were okay. And I got word that, whoa, I got a phone call, and I got to tell you, when I saw that they had called back with my test results, I hesitated for a while. I said, I don't think I'm going to check my messages for about another 3 hours or so, because I'm having an awesome day. And I'm going to keep having an awesome day. Who knows? So I finally picked up the phone and checked my messages, and it was to say that all of my testing, so the final result of the entire battery of testing that it is possible to give an individual shows me as being healthy as a horse. And so now I know that I'm only this skinny. I've only gotten this skinny because I'm just not eating enough. It's not because something is going on inside. And so that was good news. And I think that I also may have told you last time I was here, I had been told by an eye doctor that there was a good possibility that I was going to possibly go blind by the time I'm 70. And on October 16th, I'll be 65. So getting that news some months ago that I could be blind before 70 had me thinking, oh my God. And I think I told you, if they had said you could be dead before you were 70, I would have gone, it's been a good life. But the fact that they said you could be sightless, completely sightless, yet still here, that was enough for me to get on the good foot. So they told me, take this pill, take this eye drop, and do it every day. So that incentive was easy. If somebody said, take this pill and take this drop so that you can live to be 90, I may or may not have taken it. I've always been one of those guys that didn't really care that much about longevity. It was like, I don't care really how long I'm here. I care how I'm here while I'm here. I want to be here as long as I'm able to be filled with love and filled with excitement about life and still marveling at the beauty of the world, then I'm all good. So I think I told you last time I was here that the eye specialist called me in to tell me they needed to retest my eyes because they were concerned that there had been some contamination in the testing I did the first time that may have led to a false report to me. So they retested my eyes and they announced to me about a week after that it was a mistake, a wrong diagnosis. You are not going blind. You have very, very low-grade glaucoma. Stay on the eye drop because that's a systemic thing, but you are not going blind. So I feel like my whole world has been filled with good news around my health and my vitality.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Before finding out my tests were good, I had a beautiful, wonderful nurse in the hospital. I think within hours after I flatlined and went into cardiac arrest, when I came back and they got me a room, I had a wonderful nurse come into my room and sit down on the edge of my bed with her little forms, and she said, answer this question for me, Reverend Anderson. Do you have your affairs completely in order, mostly in order, somewhat in order, or not much in order? And I said, is there a lower thing that we can do? How about not in order at all? How about nobody knows anything about what I desire? Timothy knows a few things, but I've never written them down. So I can picture Timothy in confrontation with my one living sister, and Timothy saying, no, he wants the cheapest funeral they've got, and he just wants to be in a pine box, and he wants nobody to see his body. And he wants this, and he wants that, and he wants me to have this, and my family to have this, and he wants his kids to have this, and he's up against my strong-willed sister saying, he's not here and he didn't leave any notes with his signature on it. So I'm deciding whether or not we're going to put him in a pine box and give him the cheapest funeral, or whether we're going to send him out like we sent all the other people out, at great cost. And I'm going to decide what happens to his house and to his whatever. And so when asked, do you have your affairs in order, I went, I don't have a single thing in order. Yet I've been so grateful for my relatives who have gone before me when they have had their things in order. My father did not have his stuff in order. It was a mess. It was a mess with my mom and the kids trying to figure out stuff and decide stuff, and people coming in from out of town saying, yeah, I talked to your father like 4 or 5 years ago when I visited him, and he said when he goes, I could have his boat. He wanted me to have his boat and all of his tools. And there was my mom going, wow, I didn't know he had said that. I was thinking of selling that boat. No, Norma Jean, he said I could have that boat. So Mom didn't do that, thank God. Mom had her stuff organized. So I was not prepared. I told that nurse, I said, if I get out of this hospital, because it's not a common thing for an Anderson, one of my clan, to go into the hospital and get out. Most of us who go into the hospital do not come home. So I was saying, if I get out of here, I will immediately start getting my affairs in order. And as I stand here today, I have to tell you that proves itself not to have been true. I have not done a single thing to get my affairs in order. And sometimes the mischievous little boy in me is kind of glad that I don't have anything in order. It's like if I drop dead today, let them fight it out. But then, I've got this other part that says, you're not just a mischievous little kid, dude. Get your stuff together. So I stand here today to say that that's still an assignment that I have not fulfilled. I have not gotten my affairs in order. I used to tell people that the reason why I don't have life insurance is because I think it's an investment in dying. I realized a lot of the stuff I told myself was just silly. It's just silly stuff. To have life insurance is not an investment in dying. It's not like if I don't have life insurance, I'm going to keep on living. But if I get it, I'll suddenly die. It's just these games I play with myself. I'm trying to identify all the games I play with Carlos so that I can stop playing them. around this issue and many others. I was grateful that the daily work was about whole being because I've really been getting what does it mean to be whole. I gave you these reports from doctors about my eyes, and you're not going blind, and your organs are looking good, and your heart is looking good, and all of this. But that is only one aspect of whole being. The true place where whole being really matters to me the most is the whole being in my mind. It's my identification with being whole in myself and whole with you all and whole with God, at one with the Creator and with all of creation. When I'm aware of that, that's when I feel whole and that's when I feel complete. I also do not feel whole when I am discounting parts of myself that I don't care for. The parts of, the living guy here in the field of relativity. When I am not addressing that I have the potential in me to not live up to everything that a child of God should be. When I try to push those parts away from me, if I have any fearful parts in me, if I have any angry parts in me, if I have any sad parts in me, if I have any parts in me that feel like I am the victim of what happened to me when I was 5, 6, and 7 years old, if those parts are parts of me and I push them away, I don't feel whole. I feel like I have discounted a part of who I experientially am. And so I want to own those and I want to embrace them because it's in the owning of these shadow parts of who I am that I can embrace them and dissolve them and move beyond them. They become like my little children. If I push them away, they are something hidden in me that starts to do its work underground. It takes me from being at a place of being at ease to a place of being at dis-ease because I'm trying not to own them. And they're like these little kids that are saying, hey, the me that you're trying to disown is the me that you were when you were 7 years old. I will not disappear, and you cannot shut me up. The only way out, brother, is for you to find me, to lift me up, to hold me, and to assure me that you are with me. To bless those shadow places in yourself is to be able to not any longer be controlled by them. So whole being to me is a whole lot of stuff. And one thing that whole being I find really depends upon for me is it depends that I desire for you your whole being. That I desire that you be whole. I find that when I'm really desiring that you are whole, I can experience my whole being. If, on the other hand, I am sending out any information that fractures you, any information that is willing to look at you and say you are not whole, instantly I have indicated to my own inner self that I am not whole. And so whole being is about embracing all of who I am. We said a couple of weeks ago that the yin-yang sign, it has a swirl of black with a white dot, a swirl of white with a black dot, and it's saying that everybody is a mix. No matter how saintly anyone appears to be, there is still that spot in them of being in the shadow, and no matter how shadowed a person seems to be, there is always that experience, that piece of them that's in the light. So embracing all of who we are is important. And sometimes in unity centers and in science of mind centers and in other new thought centers, the embracing of the shadow piece is something we don't want to do. And I've even encountered a number of people who said that just to acknowledge that that is a piece of who you are is to increase that in you. And I disagree. I think that we have to embrace the beautiful, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's to look in the mirror and go, I have a beautiful skin and I have 3 pimples. The pimples are not all of who I am. They're not all on my skin. But I have to acknowledge that they are there. And the only way to deal with them is to acknowledge they're there and for me to find something to put on them to try to dismiss them. Otherwise, this is what I'll do. I'll look in the mirror and I'll see my pimples and I'll think that my pimples are all I am. My whole face is one big pimple. That's what I'll see when I see these 3 little pimples. And then what I'll do is I will wet a little cloth. I will approach the mirror and I will start trying to wipe my pimples off the reflection in the mirror. This is what we do. We try to go outside of us to see if I can manipulate and do something out here that may get rid of my blemishes inside. And so wiping off the mirror does not clean your face. It's only cleaning your face that cleans your face. And you won't want to clean your face if you don't know that there's anything to clean. So whole being is a process of continually purifying, continually looking at ourselves, continually noticing what is there, and then doing the work to overcome. First of all, once again, is to embrace the fullness of yourself. I know a woman who periodically gets angry, and she does not want everyone around her experiences her anger, but she does not want to acknowledge that there's any anger in her. And therefore, it doesn't matter how many people experience her anger, she believes that everyone around her is deluded. There is no anger in me. If you're picking up anger, then you are misguided. You are misseeing. You're misexperiencing. There is no anger in me. And so when I said to her, what would it feel like just to acknowledge that there is anger in all of us? It just comes with the territory. It's part of the human experience. In the field of polarity, there's this and there is that. That there is courageousness in all of us, and there is also trepidation in us. There is strength in us, and there also is weakness in us. We're a mix. There's not a straight shot in this room. Everybody here is a mixed drink. We're mixed with what we like to set forth, and we see as powerful, and it goes along with all of these. That's why I said, when we are knowing this, how do we feel? But we all know that we are not knowing these 5 principles all the time. If we were knowing these principles all the time, can you imagine who you would be? Who you would be if you remembered these all of the time as your truth? Who you would be? I'll tell you who you would be and who I would be. We would be who God created us to be. We would be who we are destined to be. This is what I like about my belief system. I believe that we already have overcome all of our human limitations. I believe that we have already overcome our sense of littleness. I believe that we have already overcome any sense of victimization, and that we are simply here remembering. We're here remembering how we got over. We're here remembering what it took to make it through, what it took to overcome, for our capital S-E-L-F, to overcome our sense of the little s-E-L-F. And so we're on this amazing journey of awakening to who we really are. Knowing these principles, understanding these principles, and deepening these principles is a wake-up call for each and every one of us. It wakes us up to who we really are. Once again, we have been everybody. We have been everything. We have experienced every emotion available to the human to experience. Each of us has. I was thinking as Timothy was driving in about the woman who was caught in the act of adultery, and I was thinking that many years ago I preached a sermon on that, and I said, who are you in this story? Most of us know the story. We know that the law of Moses was that if a woman is caught in the act of adultery, that God says, Moses said, I'm not saying this, God says this. God told me to tell you all that if a woman is caught in the act of adultery, for God's sake, she should be stoned to death. She should be run through the streets, back her up against a wall, and let the righteous people of God pick up rocks and stone her to death. And this is the way it was during those times. And it's the way it is in some countries and in some places today. We like to sit here and look at other countries and go, oh my God, what they're doing is so horrible. But if we trace back the Judeo-Christianity process, we realize, oh, that was common in the whole field. It's not just that son of Abraham. It's all the sons of Abraham who have practiced this. I call it self-righteous indignation. If someone is found to be wrong or judged to be wrong, I can self-righteously demonstrate my indignation by killing that person. So I ask people periodically, and I'll ask you, and you don't need to answer out loud, but have you, in your life experience, ever been that woman? Have you ever done something that was displeasing to people around you? Have you ever done something that the people around you thought was non-righteous, non-holy? Have you done anything or been anyone who the people around you feel is worthy of condemnation, worthy of judgment, and worthy of punishment? Have you ever been that in your life experience? Has there been anyone around you at any time who looked at you and judged you to be worthy of punishment? And if so, how did it feel in those moments? How did it feel to be that woman? I had a point, I think for 30 or maybe even, how old am I, 65 almost? So I would say at least 35 years ago in Amherst, Massachusetts, at Hope Church when I was the pastor there, I was approached by same-sex couples who said, can you give us a church celebration for our love? Although we can't legally be married, can you join us under God in our relationship as partners for life? And I began to do that, and the word got out in this small series of little towns that I lived in that Reverend Carlos Anderson from Hope Church is doing the unthinkable. It's a desecration. He is honoring the relationships between same-sex couples, and he is marrying them and giving them the impression that their union is blessed by God. And I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many people in that town threatened my life on a day-to-day basis, threatened to burn down my home, threatened to burn down my church, and threatened me physically. I was physically assaulted a number of times. I began by trying to run away. I have run through these all-white towns where I'm the only person of color. I have run for my life for miles to get away from gangs of people who thought Carlos deserves to die. I have run away. I've had times where I couldn't run away, and the best I could do was just try to keep them off me and try to disable them so they couldn't keep beating me. And then I had one time where I lost it. I had one time where I snapped. And that time, thank God, Timothy was there to pull me off of the person. He was a man who was just out of the Marines, and he thought that his duty to God and country was to go and fight overseas and then to come back and eliminate anyone like me. And he jumped me, and I believe I was afraid that he was going to kill me, and I don't know what happened, but Timothy had to pull me off of him, or I would not have gotten off of him. I was lost to myself. It took me so long to process the guilt that I felt for allowing myself to go there. I felt so ashamed that this guy had brought me to a level of being a unleashed Doberman Pinscher. I sicked him with everything I could. And I realized that it wasn't just the guy that I was fighting. It was everybody in my life who had ever abused me. I saw him as every perpetrator I had as a child. I saw him as everybody who had ever called me the N-word. I saw him as everybody who had ever cheated me, who had ever used me or abused me. And so I felt like he was the unfortunate recipient of a lifetime of black rage. A lifetime of it. It took me so long to process it. I had a lot of people trying to help me with it, saying, let yourself off the hook. And eventually I was able to let myself off the hook. And thank God there were no more episodes after that particular episode. So I had people around me translating that experience for me. And I had some say, you think it was a bad thing you did, and I think it was an essential thing that you did. And I think that that's why it has never happened again. I think there's a part of you, Carlos, that didn't know that it is okay to stand up for your own life, that it's okay to stand up for you. And so you tried to run away, and then you tried just to block the blows, and then you tried to just grab somebody's hands, and then finally you fought. That was in you since you were 7 years old and dealt with your first adult molesting you. That has been there. That little boy wanted to say no more. And it never happened again. And I got to tell you, as I stand here telling you this, I realize I still haven't processed that fully. I don't want that animal to be drawn out of me. But for me to deny that that animal is in me, I can't deny it. I think there were 14 witnesses to it that day. 14 people saw Reverend Carlos Anderson, pastor of Hope Community Church in a little town where he stands out like a sore thumb as the only person of color there. The police got there after Tim got me away, and I thought, what if it was in the newspaper? Reverend Carlos W. Anderson, pastor of Hope Community Church, one of two black traditional churches begun right at the end of slavery here in Massachusetts, was arrested today for assault and battery on a Marine just back from service in a foreign field. To fight for his rights. How would that have looked? That's not really how I wanted to be seen. But in the moment, I didn't care how I was seen. Sometimes we don't care how we're seen. But let's not argue with the fact that it's all in us. I see people clicking their tongues and rolling their eyes and looking at people and what they have done as though there's nothing in them that could ever do that. Oh, I can never do that. Oh, let me tell you, you can do anything. You are capable of doing anything. Take it from me. I've just confessed before you. We are capable of doing anything. I don't think I was capable in that moment of taking my hands from around that guy's throat, because it took Timothy quite a while to be able to get my hands from around his throat. I lost all sense of any desire to be seen as reverend, pastor, even a good guy, even just a regular nice guy. I went south all the way. That's in me. It's in you. So when I read the scripture of these righteous men with these stones in their hands and stoning that woman against the wall, well, I clearly see, yeah, that's me against the wall. That's all these righteous people, all the righteous Christians in my neighborhood saying, oh my God, he honors the relationships between same-sex people. That is the devil. He is 666. He is, oh, that is darkness. We deserve to stone him. I've been hurt. But I got to tell you, I've also been them. I've had my rock in my hand for the glory of God, for the goodness of God, to stone that person. That's why I keep telling people everywhere I go, pray for your enemies. Pray for those who you are out of agreement with. This is a tough teaching of Jesus. He says, pray for those who use you, abuse you, put you down. Pray for them, pray for them, pray for them. They really are you. They are showing you who you can be when you're unleashed, when you're off the hook. Just pray for them. I think last week in Amherst, you know, one of my assignments to people generally in our community is to pray for Donald Trump. And so last week I had actually a half dozen people who said that they had started praying for him, and they gave a testimony where they were giggling like school kids that they no longer are his puppets. They no longer think of him every day. They no longer get disjointed. They no longer go through a day getting upset about whatever he has to say. It's like, Carlos, you were right. Praying for people lets you off the hook. They're not even on your hook. You're on your hook. So a couple of them are saying, you're right, man. It's like fun. It's fun because I'm in my power. I am a whole being, not a fractured being that he fractured. I'm a whole being that he cannot fracture. And so it's fun. And it's fun to think of him as a hurt little boy. As I told them, is a man bully a mean man, a dangerous man, or is a man bully a broken man, a broken boy, and a brave little boy? You know, I was not born into riches, in a material sense. Donnie was. He was born into material riches. I wasn't. I was born into riches of spirit, the richness of love, the richness of being taught and conditioned that to give is to receive. I think that the riches I was born into are the true riches. And so I don't have that broken little isolated kid who thinks that it's my money and it's my clout and it's my power that I have to protect myself with. I don't have to do that. That's not my assignment. But I can have compassion for any one of my brothers and sisters who that's their assignment. You know what he wants? He wants what I grew up with. He wants a daddy and a mama that just hug him all throughout the day, telling him how much they love him. That's the kind of mama and daddy I have. A mom and dad who's never let a day go by without at least 7 or 8 times affirming me or uplifting me. That's what I have. I don't have to be